Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Brand Muse interview series. I am here today with Peter Prue, and I'm really psyched to have him here. Peter has built and scaled multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses, e-commerce businesses, across multiple different industries, and he's got a really successful YouTube and podcast presence called Ecommerce Empire Builders. And he's also a member of the 2 Comma Club, which is for hitting over $1 million in sales for his e-commerce businesses using funnels. So Peter is a master at funnels. He's got his award on his wall in the back that I can see that. So welcome, Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm going to try and provide as much value as I can to everybody in your audience here.
Cool. Awesome. So to tell us a little bit about, quick history of kind of where you got to, how you ended up what you're doing now.
Okay, so I call myself the 10-year overnight success story, because everybody sees like what I'm doing now, the things I've accomplished, but they don't see like the headaches and the trouble and all the road bumps along the way. I started 10 years ago in online marketing. I made my first dollar when I was 18 years old. Well, now it's 11 years. Man, I'm getting old. But 11 years. I was 18 years old in college, did some stuff with like affiliate marketing. Essentially, you just sell other people's products and you make a small commission. Didn't make a lot of money off of it, but it showed me that there was a possibility to actually make money online. Like that was so foreign to me. Like I went to college thinking like, I got to go to college for IT, go get a job and, live that, American dream, right? So making that money, like I was like, holy, like this is crazy. Like how is this possible? So long story short, I graduated college, got a full-time job. I wasn't obviously making enough money to be able to not work. And I always had this itch like inside of me saying like, hey, like you made that little bit of money there. Like there's probably a way to like really like grow that bigger to a point where you can actually quit your job or whatever, right? Just create a good side income for yourself while you work full time. And that's when I kind of started learning about e-commerce. So those of you that don't know, e-commerce is essentially selling like physical products online, right? Like Amazon is probably the biggest physical product storefront online. And that's what I started to do. I started selling products on Amazon, which anybody can do. And I did pretty well. To make another long story short, we ended up getting, having some false IP claims made by a competitor on us. And we lost that Amazon FBA business. And that was a really eye-opening moment for me. And those of you that are running a business right now really need to understand this is like, you need to be in control of your business. Like I didn't realize that when I was selling on Amazon, like I thought like, oh, we're making like, $50,000 a month. Like, oh, I'm actually running a business. But then when I got banned in a blink of an eye, my business was gone in overnight. And I had no customers. I had no email address. I had nothing. I had no assets. And that's what I really want everyone to understand is like, if you want to sell on somebody else's platform, like Walmart or Amazon or wherever, that should just be an added bonus. That should not be your entire business. So during this time, I kind of like went into a little bit of a dark period of my life, and I was like blaming everybody else but myself on my success. And I kind of stopped trying. Like I basically just went back to work, day in and day out doing that. And like about a year passed, and I was like all that experience you had, all those things you've done over these years, you're just gonna quit? Like we're just gonna quit, right? And I said like, no, let's do this again. Let's take that experience. Let's try again. Let's keep going. So I started a business around fishing. Like fishing is like a passion of mine. It's something I grew up with my dad doing. It's something that I remember my father by doing still to this day. And to me, it was a business that I was like, you know what, like I even want other people to enjoy it. So it's so fun. Like when we do events for fishing and stuff, like seeing people catch their first fish, like kids and stuff like that, it's like the best thing. And to me, when I started that business, I was like, why not me? Why can't I start a business around this, right? There's people already buying stuff in this space, right? Like why can't I go in there and sell? So that's exactly what I did. And I went in there with the mentality where I was like, I don't care if I fail here, right? Because I'm gonna have fun. I'm actually gonna have fun trying to do this, okay? And we started selling all different kinds of storefronts and stuff, and we started making sales and gaining our own customers, which was great. We actually had a business now that we could control, right? We could email our customers, we can communicate with them. And the problem was that I was making sales, yet I wasn't profitable, right? A lot of people, like, they love to show like, oh, you know what, my business made, $200,000 last year, but then when you look at the profit, it's like nothing. It's like $10,000, right? It's like pointless, right? It's like, what did you just work your butt off for? And that's a kind of situation that I was in. I was like, why am I not able to be profitable? And that's when, this was about 4 years ago now, where I was in like a mastermind group, and this software company, it was actually Clickfunnels, came and demonstrated this brand new software that they were releasing to build these sales funnels, right? And light bulb just started going off. And we can go into more in this interview of like what exactly a sales funnel is, but essentially it's just like you guide your customer by the hand, step by step by step, and telling them exactly what your product is, why it's a good fit for them, and giving them like the solution to whatever they need. Like, I love to use the example, like if you ever go to Best Buy, like if anybody ever still goes to Best Buy and an associate comes up to you, right? They come up to you and you're like, oh, I want a new TV. Well, you're not going to leave with just the TV, right? You're going to leave with like a Blu-ray player. You're going to leave with like maybe a speaker system. Maybe you're going to leave with some other different kinds of gadgets. And that's exactly what we need to do. The funnel is essentially the best salesperson for your business to sell your product, right? And once I started doing that and implementing these funnels, and of course there was a ton of different failures trying to make it work. It's not as easy as just like, oh, we launch a funnel and we're millionaires. All right, by far, no means. But we launched a bunch of different funnels, and eventually one hit, and we started to see like that, hey, instead of sending that traffic to like a Shopify store or a general storefront, right? When we send it to a sales funnel, our cart value, our average cart value, the amount of money that our customer would spend with us, it tripled. Literally overnight, it tripled. Now, there were so many other funnels that we launched and tested and stuff along the way, but using those funnels is what allowed me to quit my job, really change my life, right? To be able to like rely on myself for my income, right? And about a year and a half ago, to make this full circle, I sold I sold the business about 8 months ago, but about a year and a half ago, people started asking me like, how are you doing this? Like, this stuff that you're doing is so foreign, right? Because people are just so accustomed to being like, oh, I'm going to go to Shopify or WooCommerce or wherever, and I'm going to launch a business on that. And what I was talking about was just so foreign. So people started asking me in different Facebook groups that I was posting my results in, how are you doing this? So I just started a YouTube channel, and it's so funny looking back at some of my YouTube channel, like you could tell there's no effort. Like, it's just going, pointing, clicking. Oh, here's how you do it. This, like, it wasn't meant to be anything. It was just meant to be a helpful video that I just went and posted back in the group just to show people how to do it. And it just took off from there. Like, I started my own group, my YouTube channel started to grow, and then we started consistently creating content, and then students started implementing this stuff, and they started to get results for their businesses, for their lives. And like, oh my goodness, I can't tell you like how fulfilling it is. Like, I love running my own businesses, but seeing other people like get that light bulb moment that I had, right, is like, there's no better feeling. There's literally no better feeling when you see somebody else succeed at something that you taught them, and they actually, they took in the information and acted on it. They didn't just like listen to it and just like, have a good idea but don't do anything with it, but they actually did it. And that's kind of where Ecommerce Empire Builders started, and now we're here, right? So that's like my 10 years of online marketing experience, basically boiled down into that 5 minutes. But
so there are a couple questions I have out of that. One is, so you were in e-commerce, and then you became successful at it through funnels and your marketing efforts, and then you sold the actual e-commerce business, and now your business is teaching people how to do marketing, essentially.
So we have two things now. So 8 months ago when we sold that business, we obviously had a large sum of capital from that sale. So we're using that to launch a new business that is about like 2 months from now is probably going to launch. It's a supplement brand, right? So that's going to be our next e-commerce business. And then also we have our Ecommerce Empire Builders.
Okay, so you're doing both. You're practicing what you preach, and then you're also kind of selling what you practice. In a way.
I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. Really, like, to do two things at once. And I don't really recommend people do two things at once. Just always focus on your one thing. But like, once you build a team under you, like we have 13 people that work at Ecommerce Empire Builders now. It's like incredible, right? So now it's like, okay, like I hired these people, now I can step into this more of the CEO role, creating content, helping students succeed. And now that frees up my time to go back and be like, okay, let's go start this new business here now, right? And build a team under that.
Right. So are you selling courses? Are you selling ebooks? Are you selling, what are your products in e-commerce builders?
We have just one program. That's it. We
And
just have one. It's I don't know how I couldn't have
is it a
multiple.
course or what is the
Yeah,
program?
yeah. So yeah, it's a course. I call it like a living course because we update it every single week, just about, right? We have different kinds of updates that are happening in e-commerce, new strategies that are working for us in our own businesses. Putting that out to the students, doing the weekly live Q&As with the students. It's definitely a handful to manage by, so I don't know how people do it where they have like 20 different programs and trying to support all those. So we basically have everything that we know inside of our one thing. That's it, right? And then we just put so much effort into getting our students results. Like that's all I care about. Right? Like that I only want the people that are coming into our world to be like, not the ones that just consume, but they just, they consume, they get excited and they actually
do
like
it.
act
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And that's like one thing that I've noticed, and I don't want to get too sidetracked but I see a lot of people like, they'll watch a ton of YouTube videos, they'll buy all these different courses, but then it's like they never do anything with it. Right? And that's like something I've noticed with coming into the information space is like do it. Like you gotta act on this stuff, So we try and implement a lot of e-commerce style things to get people to act on it. So we'll send people like little welcome kits with like physical products. Like we'll send them our t-shirts and stuff to make it feel real, right? Because when you make it, that's the difference between like info and just e-commerce. Is e-commerce people, when you sell physical product, they have that anticipation to get your product, right? They know it's coming. They can't wait to get home from work, and they get to the door and they open their, the Amazon box or your package, and they're excited. It's like Christmas. However, when you buy information, there is no feeling like that. They buy it, they have it, right? So when you can mix a little bit of e-commerce in there as well, it keeps them accountable. Like every time now they open up their dresser and they see the shirt, they're like, oh, like I gotta go. I should be doing that, right? So that's like a strategy that we use to get people like, hey, don't forget about us. Like, come on, you gotta do this.
That's a very smart strategy because I mean, how many times have you bought a digital course or an ebook or something, a PDF downloadable, and you get it, you put it in your I gotta read this folder, and then you forget about it, you never do. Even when I was in the agency business where we would pitch and we would send, prospective clients PDFs, we would a lot of times create some really interesting, fun, inventive, creative gift, that had to do with their business or had to do with our agency, and we'd send it to them. And it would be, something significant, something made, someone, handcrafted, something that they wouldn't throw away. And that it would sit on their credenza and basically be an advertisement for your agency for months, even if you didn't win the project. And so I think that the inclusion of the swag and the manifestation of your brand in the physical land is very smart. That's a very smart move. And so is it a video course and then you get a community and then live video? What are the components of your product?
There's a bunch of technical style components like funnel templates and all that stuff, but essentially it's a 7-week program, right? Do it at your own pace. Then we also have a few bonuses that we throw in there for everybody. But yes, they get the weekly live Q&As. They get the recordings with all of that. They get access to the private community where we just collaborate. I'm in there every single day helping them, and that's about it. Yeah.
So you've taken your professional expertise and you have turned that sharing of that knowledge and value into your new teaching platform and your new business, essentially. So when you did that, how did you, my channel is mostly about branding and marketing, right? And so how did you brand yourself? How'd you come up with the name? How'd you do the logo? How did you go about that, establishing your brand ecosystem for Empire Builders?
So for me, I started thinking, I was like, when I started making it official, when it started becoming real for me, I literally just went and, like I said, I was posting in these Facebook groups, showing results, just genuinely helping people. I didn't want anything, right? There was no Empire Builders, there was nothing. But then when I started getting traction, I started getting views, and people were like, commenting. I was like, okay, well, now we're starting to build a community here, and I started thinking about like, what can I name us, right? Like, we should probably have a name that people can like self-identify with, and that's really powerful. Is like, you want to be able to like, whatever your business is, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, people like to self-identify with things. Think of like very big products now. People love to self-identify, right? Like I am this, right? So like for us, it was like, okay, well, like I started thinking, I was like, well, what are we all doing here? Right. So what are we all doing? We're building something. And I was like, okay, I want something in there. Okay. We're building our own empires. Right. So I was like, okay, well, let's just call it Empire Builders. And I was like, let's make it a little bit more niche specific so people know what we're talking about. Right. So we called it Ecommerce Empire Builders. Now, there was a couple other components I thought through during this. I was like, okay, cool. We're the e-commerce empire builders, but as far as like with branding goes, I was like, what can we say that like people like feel, right? And it's basically like a phrase that we say at the end of every video, at the end of every podcast.
Tagline thing.
Yeah,
Rememberable.
like that people, and it means something for everybody. And this is like something, I don't know how I thought of this. It came to me like in the shower, basically. But it was, I say at the end of every video, at the end of every YouTube video, I basically say, hey, your empire starts now, right? So like a lot of people, like to me, it embodies everything I want. Is right, like your empire starts now. That means like, okay, you have to start now, right? If you want to build your empire. And two, it's something that is universal. It doesn't matter what you do. I can go up to a random person and say that, and to them, they'll interpret it different. It doesn't have to be e-commerce. It could be whatever it is. You could be real estate. It could be your full-time job that you want to, you know, get promotions in. It could be whatever, right? And then a couple other things that we did is like, for example, like with branding, we only right now, we will only give this t-shirt to people that are students. Like that's it. There's the only way. So it's kind of awesome because we went to like an event a couple months ago, and it was just so great. We told people to wear their shirts, and everybody got like a picture together, wearing their shirts and everything like that. So that's kind of what I thought through. As far as how the YouTube channel progressed, because I kind of want to hit on this a little bit.
Sure.
Is like probably within like after 2 months of shooting content, that's when I kind of started realizing, hey, this is growing. This is a little bit bigger than me. And that's when I started pondering all these things like, oh, let's name us something. Let's do all that. But with that shift, like the content also has to change, right? Like, hey, like what's the schedule of the content, right? Like how's the content now being edited, right? Like now you have to like learn to start saying specific things inside of your videos and all your content pieces. But a lot of things that I would suggest people, like if you're starting e-commerce brand, I think yes, branding right away, go. But like if you're starting like info, I think you should just help people a little bit first to see what kind of reaction you get, right? Like go out there, go to like a Facebook group and just help people. Right?
It might tell you how to brand it actually. So to a certain extent, it did tell you how to brand it, right?
Exactly. Your customers and your following, they don't even have to be your customers, because I have a lot of loyal followers that they're not in our program, but they're in every comment, they're watching stuff, they're commenting on everything. And that to me, engagement is currency, right? Audience is currency. I think your audience is the number one biggest asset of your business, everything, right? Like you need an audience, right? Those who control the eyeballs, like that's your money, that's your lifeblood. But they will help you build your business with you. And that's something I really took to heart, because when I started helping people, like, and I wish I'm going to go back like through all my comments, because I guarantee like I saw words that they were using and lingo that they were using, and I was like, okay, well, let's like somehow put this into play into our programs, into our our webinar, into all of our things, right? Our swag and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the path that we took in terms of how the YouTube channel grew.
So the channels, the platforms that you choose to be on. You talked about how, it's building your brand on borrowed land, right? With the Amazon and the fact that they kind of like, they snatched your business away from you, or they decimated it. I mean, and that can happen on any platform, and so you've built your brand on YouTube and podcast mainly, right?
Yeah,
Facebook group for community.
Facebook group. So we have a public and a private Facebook group. Okay. We have like Instagram. We're just about on every single platform. But like you bring up a good point, like this is rented land, right? Like our goal with everything you do needs to have some sort of like CTA, a call to action. Right. And that call to action needs to get people off of
the platform.
Right. Yeah. And I know like YouTube and podcasts and stuff, that your ranking probably goes down because you have a link to another website, in your description. But to me, it's worth it, right? To get that person off of there. Like a lot of people say email marketing is dead. It's not dead, right? This is what
email marketing is probably the only thing living, to tell you the truth.
You can put on a USB drive.
Yeah.
It's the only thing, and you could travel all around the world or whatever, and guess what? Your business is in your pocket. And I love to use this quote, and like let's say, like your friend emails you, right? You're gonna open it, right? Right? You're gonna open it because you have a good relationship with them. And I love to say, hey, the people that are saying email marketing is dead or nobody's opening their emails, it's because your relationship with your email list. They don't want to open your emails, right? Because you probably like betrayed their trust, or you did something sleazy, or you did something that compromised that trust from them, right? So if you email them like a normal person, right, like talking to one person, remember,
right?
This is also really powerful email marketing tactic is always keep this in the back of your mind when you're writing emails, is there will only ever be one person reading your email at a time. They're not getting together and all reading your email together, right? So talk to them in like a single voice, right? Like you're just talking to them, right? And they don't need to be some super long emails by any means, right? You can get right to the point, keep it short, keep it sweet, and that's the kind of stuff that's going to get you into the main inbox and not like, the promotions tab and stuff like that. But yes, whatever platform you're on, followers, subscribers, likes, all that stuff is great, but you can be shut down immediately. I've had friends that lost $1 million a month businesses on Amazon that literally had nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. I remember I had a friend did that, it was like almost maybe I got $500,000 a month, business gone, and he went back and back to his full-time job.
Wow.
Right? Like how horrible is that? Like I honestly like you and I remember feeling like that too. And I was like, oh man, like I got this all figured out. I'm going to quit my job. Like everything's working out. And then boom, you just get hit with this like false IP claims, right? By a competitor of ours. And I don't want that to happen to anybody on YouTube, Instagram, wherever. Get them off of that, right? Because when you have eyeballs, like think about it, guys, like we have very large email lists. If I just decide to start an Instagram account today, I can be like, hey, you know what? Everybody go follow me on Instagram. Now I can send like 100,000 people to go like me on Instagram, just like that. Like just like that, I can get a huge following right there. And I encourage you guys to always try and become omnipresent, but don't overwhelm yourself. Start with one platform first, right? Get good at it, push them into your email list, and then, hey, you know what? You want to launch a podcast? Okay, let's launch our podcast to our email list and our YouTube channel. We'll say, hey guys, we just launched our podcast, go push them there. Then move to the Instagram, and then, you just kind of cross promote all of these things together.
So you started with YouTube and then went to podcast. Which is the best? I mean, podcasting, as I've been talking to a lot more podcasters and interviewing people recently. And one of the things about podcasting, which is tougher, is it's harder to comment, it's harder to engage, and it's actually harder to even track how much you're getting through, right? And so what's the difference between YouTube and podcasting in terms of its return on leads for your business?
So I can tell you need to podcast. All you need to do, like I can tell you're missing out, because all we do is rip the audio from our YouTube and just put it out on the podcast. And we get about almost 1,000 downloads a day, right? And we don't even get 1,000 views a day on our videos, right? Yeah, some of them get up there, like depending on what the content is, but we get 1,000 downloads a day on our podcast. And podcast is so powerful because think about where they're listening to you. They're listening to you in their car, on a run, right? And you can track, like depending on how you set up your tracking links, you're going to see, right? Like for example, we set up very specific bit.ly links and UTM parameters with Google on specific links, and we could see, okay, how much traffic is that driving? And it's substantial, right? It's substantial. It's basically in line with YouTube, just because also the volume is greater on the podcast. If you don't have, like, because some people will be like, oh, I'm going to create specific content for the podcast. Of course, that's probably a better way to do it, but like an interview or something like that where people could just listen to like on the run, or don't have to be in front of a computer, or have their YouTube app open and they can't lock it. I think it's great to just rip the audio, throw it onto I use Spreaker, been using that forever, and it's basically free to put it up on there. And then you can, through Spreaker, you could basically launch it to Spotify, Google, Apple, right? All of these different platforms that your content then gets distributed across. Yes, I would do it, right? And it's so easy. Just make everything an audio file and throw it up there.
Yeah, I haven't been doing that. And I was actually at Social Media Marketing World a few weeks ago, and I ran into Cliff Ravenscraft, who is like the god of podcasting, right? He was one of the first people who really made it a thing and taught it to people. And I asked him that question. I said, do you, have this YouTube channel, have a lot of content, I've been thinking about a podcast. Can I just rip the audio? And he was like, no, you really, because people can tell if it's a video or you were talking to people on video and it's in a podcast and they don't feel like it's special and stuff like that. So it's interesting to hear your perspective that doesn't seem to,
yeah,
but it doesn't seem to matter for you.
It depends. I definitely, because we do a lot of screen share.
Yeah. Okay.
So like screen share, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, visuals. There's no visuals, right?
Yeah. So that's like something for us to think about, like after this conversation, is like, maybe we only put the episodes on there that are specific, that are just, talking, or, that aren't necessarily screen share, because on there you could just add a new intro, a new outro, right, that are specific to the podcast, clip them on the ends, and upload. I personally, like, just my opinion, I agree. There's not enough time in a day, though. That's the sad part, is like trying to create all this content for different things.
Dude, you have 13 people. What are they doing?
They're ripping audio and doing all these things. But they, it's, the thing is, there's only one of me, right? Like, like there's things that you have to identify, like in e-commerce, like you don't, so the thing is, when you start a business, you feel like you have to do everything, because you do. Right.
It's like the E-myth, right? Working on your business rather than in your business. And
identifying that one thing that you have to do in your business, right? And like for me with Ecommerce Empire Builders, there's only one thing that I have to do. Otherwise the business dies, right? It's content. That's it. Like, content is the only thing that's keeping the business alive. Without the content, this business dies, right? Which is like a scary thing, right? Compared to e-commerce, right? Where e-commerce, I'm like, like I can put the right people in the right spots, and I can kind of step away and just advise, right? And just,
and advertise. You can do traditional advertising, Facebook and Google, and, you can drive traffic easily with traditional advertising. But
no. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I am always beating that drum on my channel in terms of, my entire agency is driven by content marketing. And because I hate pitching, well, I pitch anyway, but I hate doing cold calling. And I let my content speak for me, and it acts as a massive magnet to bring business to me, and it's very successful at that. And it's interesting to hear that you don't do any traditional advertising for Ecommerce Empire Builders. You do just content, and that's what's driving your funnel.
No, so this is where the team comes in. Like, we have a very big paid traffic team.
Oh, okay.
Right, that drives traffic.
But you're doing the content, so that's your thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And one thing, like, I just want to hit on before is, like, because a lot of people won't do what me and you are doing. They'll never put their face on the internet. But, like, guys, like, think about, like, if you have something you really want to get out there and you really feel like, oh man, I really want to put this out into the world, I enjoy this, right? Because you have to be passionate to do content. I'm sorry. Like, there's
absolutely.
no way you're going to survive.
It's hard.
If you're not, it's hard.
It's really hard.
But you can always, like, do blogs. Like, I know blogs, like, some people say, oh, like, blogs are dead or whatever. I don't believe so. I think people consume content differently. We don't have a blog right now, but that's on my mission for 2019, is to launch a blog, because there's people that don't want to watch me. They want to read, right? There's going to be people that only read my emails. Like, there's been so many times where people have never even watched my YouTube videos.
Do you have a book out?
Huh?
Do you have a book out yet?
No book.
Oh man, you should.
Yeah, that's
definitely
like
do a book.
That's on my list also, by hopefully 2020. That's on my list to do. It's one of those. Yeah, it's side note. It's definitely something, like, I really, really want to do, but I guess I have a false belief in myself. I'm like, did I earn it yet?
Oh my God, you'll get over it.
Yeah,
get over yourself.
You're probably
get
right.
over yourself, Peter.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a false belief that I have. Thinking like, oh, would people read it? Like, would people get it? And I know they would, because you're not the first person to tell me that.
Yeah.
So 100%. That's on my goal board in the next year or two, for sure.
And that's part of being an entrepreneur too, is that, I have lists of goals for this year. My list for things I want to do is so long, and there's only so much you can do. Prioritizing my goals is the hardest thing that I do as an entrepreneur, because I have to let things drop to the bottom of the list that I know are, either going to get done next year or years later. And that's one of the struggle things is. So, I always end my interviews with one question. And do you have number one, this has been awesome. Thank you. I mean, incredible amount of content. And your story is really, really inspiring. I love the arc of your story from having the business to, that loss to the recovery to, the change in perspective and listening to your customers and building from what your customers are saying. I mean, it's all very inspiring. And I think anyone watching this should really take that to heart, that you have to listen to your customers and engage with them deeply on a personal level. So do you have a kind of a mantra or a manifesto that you try to lead your business or personal life by?
Yeah. So this kind of came about, and I only recently heard this kind of saying, but it impacted me so much, and I realized I've been living like this for such a long time. And I think this is such a powerful quote, and it's one of those things where it can mean something different for every single person, but especially for those people. Like for me, when I quit my job, I was like a wreck almost. I was really nervous. I didn't know, when you actually have to pay your mortgage, you gotta, I have a fiance I have to take care of, I've got things I gotta pay for. And when you actually step into that, right, as your own boss, it's intimidating, it's scary. But this quote, it's heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? And I think it's such a powerful quote that anybody can just and I have this as my desktop background, because think about it, guys. Anybody that's ever done anything great, built a business, or it doesn't have to be $1 million business. It could be whatever you want to. Maybe you just want to make enough to, just be able to hang out at home with your kids or whatever, right? But understand, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You are going to have so many road bumps along the way. You're going to hit struggles, but the people that make it, right, quote unquote, that make it, are the ones that don't give up along the way, right? I think about this so often. It's probably unhealthy, but I think about that day that I woke up and I picked up this book. It's funny. It was when I lost my Amazon FBA business, and it was about a year later, and I was like, oh, really, you're quitting? And that morning I woke up to go to my full-time job, and I walked over to my bookshop. I love reading, guys, I love reading. And I picked up this book, and it was called The Slight Edge. And it was one of the first books I ever read on entrepreneurship. It just changed my life. And I flipped open to a couple pages, and I saw I had a lot of writing in there, because that book makes you write stuff in it. And I had set all of these goals for myself in that book. I was like, how much money you're going to be making in 5 years from now? What are you going to have accomplished 5 years from now? And I had all of these things, and I looked at it. I looked at that book, and I was like, and I was hitting that 5-year mark, and I was like, I haven't done any of this stuff. I haven't done any of this stuff. Who is this person that wrote this stuff in the book? And that's what lit the fire under my butt. And I was like, you know what? I got to get back into this, right? And I wish I had that quote at that time, heavy is the head that wears the crown, because if you're not prepared to go through all the battles, right, that entrepreneurship entails, right, you're going to give up at the first sign of failure, right? And this also ties back to one important thing. Whatever business you start, please, be passionate about it, be interested in it. A lot of people say don't follow your passions. I don't believe that. I believe if you want to be successful in business, you have to be passionate about whatever you're doing, right? Every CEO is irrationally passionate about their business, about helping their customers, right? If you're just in a business where you're just trying to sell some random products to people on the internet, right? I would never quit my job on that, because that's a company's gonna come in that actually cares about their customers, right? And take all your customers away from you. So I hope I can leave everybody with that there. So
that's great. And your logo has a lion with a crown on his head.
Exactly.
So I mean, it totally illustrates that.
It's
point.
Weird, because I just heard that logo. I just heard that quote recently.
Oh wow, that's interesting, and it really resonated with you. That's awesome. Well, Peter, this has been great. So if people want to get in touch with you, how can they engage with your brand? How can they consume? They can look on YouTube and podcasts, obviously. But where would you want people to reach out to you?
Everybody can go to, ecommerceempirebuilders.com, or just type in peterpru.com. They both lead to the same place, or you can search either of those terms on YouTube or podcast or wherever.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your joining us on the Brand Muse interview series. I you're an amazing story, and people should definitely go check out E-commerce Empire Builders.
Thank you so much for having me on.